Hey there, let's talk long-term use of the Ontario SP5. Apparently this is still a knife, but to me it feels a little bit like a heavy machete, because if the SP8 is a heavy machete, it's actually a bit shorter than this. But anyway, word watch aside, this has been a very handy tool for me, and I still like it. That's the point of these long-term use reviews, to see if my opinion has changed. I still like this a lot. My primary use for this tool has ended up being a garden tool. I just simply don't take it walking much at all. I've been on a car camping trip where I took it along, and it is very, very good for processing firewood. But yeah, just the size. Not that the sheath makes it cumbersome, it's a pretty good sheath, but I just find myself, I take what I enjoy, and I just enjoy using a small axe and a small knife a bit better than a big knife and a small knife, or a big knife and a folding knife, or whatever. But that's not to say this is a bad tool at all, because this is an immensely handy garden companion. I have torn some crappy trees that were encroaching on my neighbour's fence, or on my fence from over my neighbour's fence, torn them to shreds with this knife. So what do you get for your money? You pay about $115 to $120 in Australia for these at the moment. You get 9.5 inches of blade. It's a clip point. It is, for the most part, or for 2/3 of it, a quarter of an inch thick. Then it tapers quite slenderly with this sort of swedge here to a somewhat of or it's actually a very sharp Bowie type clip point. Practicalities of that on a large knife, well, I guess it makes it a very formidable offense or defense weapon, but apart from that, you probably, if you're looking for a hard use bush tool, you're probably going to want something with a bit more of a stout tip. That is quite delicate. The swedge would strengthen it a little bit for thrusting, but you still don't have much material if you're going to be sticking it in stuff and prying. My primary use for this has just been garden use. However, it does very much excel at any type of firewood prep. A great use for big knives like this, and it's not as glamorous as, you know, chopping all the way through, but you work your way around a tree or a shrub that you can't just step in half, and then you weaken it enough to be able to squash it with your foot. And that's generally what I use it for. It's not as cool as, you know, going to a standing dead tree and just cutting it entirely down, but it's practical, and you're less likely to hurt yourself. Just use a little bit of use close to the ground, because you've got 9 inches of very, very sharp 1095 steel that you don't want anywhere near your legs or any part of your body. Speaking of the steel, the 1095 holds up extremely well. I removed the coating because it was causing traction issues, and also just like the general aesthetic of a sort of a industrial looking beaten up knife, which is definitely what you get. So I took the coating off. I tried my hand at a patina with some, whoa, Cedric's getting possessive of his paddling pool that he's sitting in. Doesn't even have water in it, you idiot. Yeah, I put a bit of a patina on it, and it's pretty much stayed rust free. It's kind of a bit grimy and sappy and stuff, but the steel's held up very well. It holds its edge for a reasonable time, and it's just very impact and torque resistant. The handle I was initially a bit doubtful of, because this is quite an aggressive rear sort of hand guard, and it does, if your hand doesn't fit it exactly right, it will hurt your finger. But my hand happens to fit it exactly right, so it doesn't. But I would have no surprises if other people complained of perhaps a fatter finger or a wider finger, just getting perhaps too much of the tip of that guard there. But apart from that, very comfortable handle. I think I've said before, I prefer enclosed tang on my hard use knives, just for the shock absorbent factor and just the general round fullness you get, rather than having sort of a blockiness that you often get. And this is one of the more comfortable handles. Some people are bothered by these ridges. They're no worries at all if you're wearing gloves, but if you are just hands, they can sort of almost offer too much traction and grip parts of your hands that should perhaps be moving a bit freer. But I've seen a few rednecks ingenuity solutions to that, which is generally resulting in putting either tape of some sort or tap washers around here. So either way, it doesn't bother me enough. The sheath is good quality. Pretty happy with how that has performed. It is very simple, but you can tell it is well made. It's just got like a good quality snap. It's obviously a generic sheath just made for large knives, but just things like it's got that metal tab so you can grab and pull easier. It's definitely just not going to come apart. You compare this to the sheaths that come with like Schrade knives, and it is just, you know, far better. It doesn't have any front pockets or anything like that, but I generally don't usually keep stuff in there that I actually use. So for what it is, it's very thin, low profile sheath, about as minimalistic as you can get. And you know what, when you're carrying a giant knife, perhaps a bit of minimalism is good. So overall, for your $115 to $120, you're going to get a knife that'll do pretty much all of your forest or your woods tasks. It's high quality, it's comfortable. The only thing is, and it's the inevitable question, do I get this or do I get a BK9 or do I get a more heavy sort of drop point knife with, you know, this is a drop point shape here, a knife with sort of like a less of a delicate tip. Well, you know what, I probably would. If I could do it again, I'd be lying if I had to say I would probably maybe spend an extra $30, get a Becker BK9. Mind you, the prices of those in Australia are exorbitant at the moment. They're about $189 for pretty much the exact same ingredients, plastic and 1095 steel, so there you go. If $115 is your absolute limit, you really can't go wrong with this. Just mind the tip. I suppose that's the moral of the story. So that's been the long-term use review of this. It is staying in my collection, it's not going. I've kind of made it too much mine to really sell to anyone anyway, but yeah, just very happy with it in general. Chop's good, baton's good, split's good. In fact, it splits really well. You can sort of almost go from rolling a clip, you can split down, and often, you know, the front sinks too far into the wood and it's lost. With a nice long knife like this, you can just keep going and just, it becomes some vertical splitting there, and you just lie the wood on its side and you go. Like, unless your wood is longer than the knife, which I've usually sawed up my logs into sort of lengths of about this. So cool little technique that I kind of just accidentally stumbled upon. So yeah, that's it. That's all I've got to say about the SP5 heavy machete. See you dudes.